Hey, let's do some more tracking and nerd out on a few things here. I'm using the pathway clip, and I have already done my analysis and camera solving. So I've got lots of points that we're seeing here. And what I'm going to try to do here is demonstrate to you guys how a shadow catcher works, what it is, and how freaking awesome it is. So a couple of things I'm interested in trying to find what could be considered a ground plane. Okay, so what I really am hoping for is something usable right up in the front end of this clip, and so I think I can find some good ground planes right here. In the event that your targets are small, just increase the target size so you can see them, right? That way it's not such a struggle. So I got this one, and I'm going to create a shadow catcher, a camera, and a light. Because in order for you to actually use the shadow catcher, you have to have a light source that will be casting a shadow on other things. What it doesn't include is a thing to go in there, but it's fine because you're going to hit create shadow catcher once. Then you can, zoom back in, guy. Then you can right click on it again and put in, either a null or a solid or text, whatever. I'm just going to stick with text. So there's my text. And if I look at my shadow catcher, it is this rectangle here. A couple things I'm going to do first is just orient my text so that I feel like it's upright and in that space. I think I'm going to put it up in the air a little bit. You'll hold down shift while I do that. Move at greater increments. And it's not totally skewed the right way. You're going to have to come this way just to touch. So I can see that it's definitely like locked into the shot. I still want it to be a little higher though. This is when it becomes a little tedious. Oh, I want to use my stylus, not my mouse, just because. I have to hold down shift in order to go in greater increments. And since this is pretty far away, it's like got a lot of distance to cover. So I want it floating in the shot about like this. So if I can see it. Okay, now I could potentially even shove it back a little bit further. I might do that. I'm going to shove it back just a little bit. On my Z. Shouldn't affect the way that it works in that space. Still is kind of floating there. But now the shadow catcher. Bam! What is a shadow catcher? It's a solid that is set to only accept shadows. So if I open up my attributes for that, AA, you can see that accept shadows is turned to only. I can say off, and so I can see my solid. I can say accept shadows, so it's on, so it'll be my solid and the shadows. Or you just want the shadows. But you're like, man, I don't see any shadows. It's because of several things. First of all, it's the size of your plane and the position of your light. So I'm just going to do something to make my life a whole lot easier. I'm going to try to orient this plane so that I can play with its scale and position. I'm going to slide it back, which is now my Y, because it sort of took place of the Z. The Z is now my Y. Oh, nope. Definitely didn't want to do that. So I'm just holding down shift again and just very slowly putting it into place. Lots of patience. All right. So now I do have my plane in an area that it should be able to catch shadows. I may even make it a little bit wider. I could even slide it that way, touch. But now I need to cast that shadow. So that's when I have to try to find my light. And this is when, oh man, headaches galore. Where is my light? I can't see it. So I have to zoom out like forever. I still don't see it. Okay. So there's a good cheat. And I love this cheat. This is something you should get used to practicing and put it in your data bank. I'm going to select my text because I can see it. I know it's right there. I was just using it. I'm going to hit P for position. And I'm going to click on the word position and hit copy. And then I am going to select light and I'm going to paste. So now I know that that light is exactly where that text layer is. A few things I should know about the light. I'm going to double click on it. It's a point light, which means it's going to cast light in all directions. That's fine. It's fine. It could be a spotlight if you felt like you needed that sort of control. At this point, I'm just going to use it as a point light. It'll be easiest for me to think about it that way. You can pick your color. Like it's a nice sunny day, so I'll just get off of the pure white because we never have that pure white. Okay. Oh yeah, I should save the project. Now, what I need to do is I have to get this light positioned in a way that I can start to see its results on the floor, the shadow catcher that I just made. So I'm going to use I'm going to change my active camera to custom view 1. Whoa! And I just kind of have to reposition my view of this custom view. And I'm going to grab that light and I'm going to start moving it upwards, up above the text. Why do I do it this way? It seems to give me a better idea of what the relationship spatially is between some of these things here. I can just go back to active camera now, zoom back in, and I can see that there's the shadow, and I can even see the light illuminating some of that text. However, if I take a look at the world around me, I can see that shadows seem to be coming off of trees and things at an angle that is, the sun's over here, shadows are being cast this way. So I have to think about that with my light. So I'm going to move that light back on that Z plane, and then I'm going to slide it a bit more to the right. And then back on the Z again, because I want to see these things. And I'm starting to see its results. I still have some problems though. My shadow catcher's too small, so I need to, hey you, stretch those sides out. Why won't you let me grab your handle? You're a jerk. Maybe I'll grab you. No? Lock the light then. Shadow catcher. Oh. That's frustrating. So I'm just going to go to scale, do this manually. And what would that be? That's going to be my X. Yeah. Scale that out on my X. Great. So now at least I'm seeing it in the scene. Couple more problems I'm looking at though are my text is, completely in shadow. Ambient light, right? There's ambient light all over this forest. So I'm going to grab another light and I'm going to make an ambient light. Probably similar in color, but definitely not like 100%, maybe somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I think my intensity, I might just pop that up a little bit more. I want to see that text. I don't want it to feel too dark in here. Okay, so that helps with that. But the other problem is that the shadow itself looks like garbage. It's too dark and it's too sharp. So the light that is creating the shadow has attributes for my shadow darkness and shadow diffusion. So I'm going to take shadow darkness down. So now I'm starting to feel a little more natural. And then I'm going to take that diffusion and just really pump it up so that it's softer because it's got distance from the ground. So it's not going to have real sharp edges. And And I could do other things too. I could put another light in front of the text and make it illuminate the text a little bit more pleasantly, and just turn cast shadows off so it wouldn't be throwing some weird other shadow anywhere unless I was trying to go for that effect. But let's just have a look and see what this looks like right now. So look at that. That shadow is definitely connected to the floor because I made a good selection of which target to go with. I was able to scale it to a size that would actually accept the light or the shadow that it's supposed to be in a more organic sense. The text is aloft in the air, and everything is behaving as I would hope it to be in a realistic fashion. That's awesome. Things I also want you to think about are if you're going to be using text or graphics, they don't have to just sit there and be idle. I could go into rotation, and is it going to be Y? Yep, it's going to be Y. You never know. Sometimes if you rotate them, they get funky. So about 12 seconds, and I'll have to do a full rotation, just one rotation. And now the movement of that element is also behaving naturally with everything else that I've set up for it, which is super cool. I think I still need to work perhaps a little bit on the placement of my light, because it gets a little down in the Z over there, which I'm not sure I'm buying that. But that's why we have to use our eyes and our judgment and try to make sure that we're doing it right. So there you go. There's something that's actually animated in a space, casting a shadow on a believable surface of what is really just two-dimensional footage. And that's really fantastic that we have that ability to go in and make that connection to that world and start to do some really interesting simulations of things. This could be Illustrator graphic, a logo, or little game icons that pop up. And, as the camera moves through, they could be arrows. They could be their own animated elements, right? This could be something that I animate with like a stroke and a brush, and it sort of has a progression and a movement of it. It'll still be able to be positioned in that three-dimensional space and interact with the light and the shadows. This is cool. I can just look at this stuff forever. It's really fun. So I hope that it was helpful. Oh, by the way, the most important part of this, and too bad I didn't say this at the beginning, you can't do shadows only with Cinema 4D renderer. The only way this works is if your renderer is classic 3D. So if you try this and you're like, oh my God, it's not working. I swear to God, I did everything the same way that he did. Watch what happens if I turn this back to Cinema 4D. Boop. That's what goes on. So if I look at my shadow catcher and look at the material options for it, cast shadows is on or off, whatever, but accept shadows is set to only, but it says disabled. So if you see that, then that's because our renderer is not supportive of this feature. Sucks, because you might be trying to do like extruded text and you can't get it to work. It is a sad fact. It's just a lot of computing. And you know what I'll do? I'll just hit undo. Yay. That way I don't have to worry about rendering that again. So there are some definite positives to both different renderers, but they do not work well in unison between a lot of the shared features, which, you just got to figure out ways to problem solve that. It doesn't bother me that that text is not extruded. It feels like it's in the space. I see it moving. I see a shadow. Everything feels real, and I'm there. I'm more concerned about what experience you're giving me, what story you're telling, or whatnot. Okay. Thank you.